afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, March 17th, 2008. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. Today's show is sponsored by Essential Wholesale. Well, where all month, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, you can enter to win $250 in cosmetic bases and ingredients just by placing your order before April 1st. For more information, visit essentialwholesale.com. Well, in November 2007, just a few months ago, a USA Today Gallup poll revealed statistics that led the paper to say that we are in a national funk. 72% of the people surveyed said that they are dissatisfied with how things are going in the country, while just 26% are satisfied. According to the news article, which is linked in my newsletter today, much of the pessimism is associated with the war and people's anxiety about the economy. Of course, our lives aren't dictated by polls, and you know how I believe that indie business owners are the most satisfied bunch in the world, no matter what's going on in the economy. But still, we live in and around the same circumstances that are causing so much discontent, apparently, and sometimes it's difficult to resist going with the flow. Today's guest, Jennifer Ryan, is the co-author of the Naked Truth Home Study System, and she's going to serve up some tips to help us avoid chronic dissatisfaction regardless of what's going on around us. But first, today's Indie co-host is Tiffany McCauley of Personal Alchemy in Concord, California. Tiffany has been a member of IBN for a little over a year now, and she's got some exciting news to share with us today. Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you.
So, Tiffany, what's your news today? Tell us about it.
Oh, I'm so excited. We just launched our new website.
and that's at personalalchemy.com, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
Now, tell us a little bit about your journey from wherever you were to this website, which is like hours old right now.
Oh, boy. It's been kind of a long one. I understand that national funk because I was definitely in one myself. I just wasn't getting everything together the way I wanted to with the website, and then I gave you a call, and the counseling and everything that we've been doing has really helped me tremendously, and and now I have this wonderful website, and everything is moving along wonderfully.
And it looks great too. Can you tell us a little bit about your products that you sell at Personal Alchemy?
Well, they're based on Ayurveda. We do bath and body products.
Ayurveda.
It's kind of simply put, it's the Indian version of Chinese medicine, and the products themselves are actually based on the aromatherapy aspect of Ayurveda. So I guess you could kind of say it's all about sort of Indian aromatherapy and relieving stress.
Oh, Indian aromatherapy. I like that. Now, I'm looking at your newly launched website here, and I love how you have everything divided up so that on the home page I can see not only a gorgeous product photo, which is really pretty, but also I see two options. I can shop by the kind of product I'm looking for, or I can shop by scent. That makes it real easy for me.
Yeah. I really wanted to make it user-friendly.
Well, everything looks really great, Tiffany. Now, you are also, in addition to being a business owner with a fantastic new website, you're also a mom.
Yes, I am.
A new mom.
Yes, I have a wonderful he's actually almost 6 months next week.
Wow. So what is it like to juggle being a wife and a mother and taking product photos and designing websites and all this other stuff? I mean, you must have really full days.
I do, yes. I usually get up pretty early in the morning, and I'm up pretty late at night. I do a lot of work while the baby's sleeping. Fortunately, he still sleeps a lot. But it's definitely busy, and sometimes you just have to prioritize and decide what's okay to let go.
So tell me, Tiffany, what sorts of tips can you offer for other moms out there who really want to have a business of their own and just kind of feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed like the day you were when you gave me a buzz?
Yeah. I think just for me, the most important thing I do is just to prioritize everything. Even if I have to sit down and actually make a physical list, it just, really deciding, not to be too hard on myself and just deciding what's okay to let go and what absolutely has to get done. Of course, my first priority is my son and my family. So, I just make sure that the important things get taken care of, and, if the house goes uncleaned for the day, well, so be it.
Yeah. So, Tiffany, did you start your business in part because, or even in whole, because you wanted to be at home with your family?
Oh, most definitely. In fact, that is the only reason I did it. I mean, I wanted to be in business for myself for a long time, but that was my one and only, fire to do that. Was I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and wife, and be the homebody, so to speak.
So, Tiffany, walk us through a little bit. You started your. Let's go backwards and. And, when you got married, when did you get how did you come to this decision? It must have been, if, you had a career beforehand. Tell us a little bit about how you moved forward with this decision, which a lot of people would say is kind of risky.
Yeah, well, I actually started off working in a salon that I purchased my business. I didn't start it myself.
You're a massage therapist by profession, too, right?
Yes, I am a massage therapist. And I was working in a salon, and the owner of that salon she owned the business at the time and decided to sell it to me. And, I thought it was perfect. I had just met my husband, or soon-to-be husband at that point. And, I knew things were heading towards marriage. So, I figured, gosh, what a great way to be able to work and raise a family. And so I went for it. Just took the plunge.
Wow. So what has been the best thing, and what's been the most challenging thing about it?
Oh boy, obviously the most challenging thing is always juggling everything and trying to get everything done. But the best thing is I'm home with my baby. So, and I'm here to cook the meal for my husband and, do all those wifely things that I love to do. So,
yeah,
great.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But hey, what better place to do it than at home? You don't have to sit in that Southern California rush hour traffic.
Exactly.
Well, listen, we're going to be talking in a few minutes with Jennifer Ryan, the co-author of The Naked Truth Home Study System. And I'll read the subtitle to this book because I think it's kind of interesting. The Proven 7-Step System for Ending Depression, Anxiety, Fear, and Chronic Dissatisfaction, so you have more happiness, calm, and self-confidence consistently. So I'm thinking, if I could just put it up to my head and let it absorb it, then maybe that would be a good start. But this book has it's a self-study manual, and the thing that really jumped out to me, of course, the whole litany of things that we can be worried about jumped out at me, but mainly chronic dissatisfaction. Of course, we may not have anxiety, we may not have depression, and we may not be, always fearful, but everyone experiences dissatisfaction at one time or another. And Tiffany, as a small business owner, that happens to us. That really does. So I really wanted to pick that particular topic out of Jennifer and her co-author's book, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. But I have a question for you, Tiffany. Do you use Ayurveda to help you avoid some of these feelings of discontentment and maybe even depression and anxiety that other people might deal with?
Most definitely.
How do you do that really quickly? How do you incorporate that?
Well, I do my best to practice yoga every day. I do try to meditate, although that doesn't happen regularly. Just making sure that I eat appropriately for my dosha, and I use my own products.
Now, you have a blog, too, that you recently launched where you can tell us things like what in the world is a dosha?
Right, yes. It's there.
And where can we go to enjoy your blog, Tiffany?
It's personalalchemy.wordpress.com.
So what's up with the blog? Why did you do this? I'm looking at it now, and I see some interesting articles about yoga and stuff. Is that a picture of you doing yoga?
That's actually a picture of a teacher that I interviewed at a yoga school. So.
Okay. We want to see you doing some yoga, so we'll look at pictures. But so tell us what's up with the blog. What does this do for your business?
I think it just helps me communicate what my products are about. Ayurveda is still relatively new here in the States, and it just helps people to have a better understanding of what Ayurveda is, how it can help you, what the lifestyle is like. It really is a form of healing that encompasses many aspects of life and different lifestyles. So it just really helps people to understand what it's all about.
And Tiffany, your products kind of go hand in hand with that?
Yes, most definitely.
Also.
Our products are based on the 3 different doshas. We actually have 4 products. One is tridoshic, meaning it can help balance all 3 of the doshas.
So give me an example of a person with a particular dosha and what product would be good for them and why.
A person, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a kapha dosha, and for me, the awakened products are best. Kapha dosha people tend to be a little more on the sluggish side. We like to lay around on the couch. We gain weight easily, that kind of thing. So awaken is a sort of a stimulating scent. It's eucalyptus based, so it kind of gets you up and going, gives you that little, kick that you need to get up in the morning and do everything you got to do. So.
Mm-hmm. And so, are these based on essential oils too?
Oh yes, yeah. The scents that I use, it's 100% essential oils. I don't use any perfumes or chemical scents.
Now, Tiffany, you designed your own website too, right?
Yes, I did.
Was that hard?
It's very similar to going through pregnancy. I mean, there's just all these frustrations and hiccups and all these hard things to get over. But man, once you get there, it's a great feeling.
Did you have to learn like HTML code and stuff?
Yes, I did. I actually learned that a while back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it looks really nice. I've seen a couple of different versions of your website up to this point, and I have to say it looks really good. And you've done a fantastic job, but I also have to give some kudos to your product photographer.
Oh, yes. Rebecca Picard, she is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That is a pretty picture there.
Yeah, in fact, I have a link to her on our About Us page as well. So.
Good. Yeah, she is really good. I mean, the picture here is very simple and elegant. It's very, very nice. So very well done. So tell me a little bit about, you said you're kapha dosha, and what are the other 2 doshas? The
other 2 are vata and pitta.
Okay, and so for gaining weight easily, I'm pretty much probably kapha. Does anything else figure into figuring out what your dosha is?
Well, there's a lot. I'm working on putting a dosha quiz on the website. Haven't quite got it up yet, but hope to in the next couple of weeks.
Good.
But there are actually quite a few websites on the internet where you can just take a quiz. It has a lot to do with physical attributes, personality, that kind of thing.
Well, we don't want to talk about those other sites. We'll just wait for your quiz.
Okay. Hopefully to be up in the next 2 weeks.
Well, I'm sure it'll be nicely placed in here. This is really nicely done, and I see that you've got a nice photograph of you and your husband on your wedding day. How long have you been married?
2 years now.
Okay.
Going on 3. Yeah.
Mom came along about the same time frame mine did.
Oh.
Oh, this is great. Well, listen, we're going to go to our first break, and then we're going to welcome Jennifer Ryan, the co-author of the Naked Truth Home Study System, and she's going to talk with us about how we can end depression, anxiety, fear, and chronic dissatisfaction. Well, that'll pretty much, pick up anybody's life.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Look forward to talking with Jennifer about that. This is Indie Business Radio. I'm your host, Donna Maria. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and we are here today with my guest indie co-host, Tiffany McCauley of Personal Alchemy. And I'm also excited to welcome Jennifer Ryan, the co-author of The Naked Truth Home Study System. Jennifer, welcome to Indie Business Radio.
Thank you, Donna Maria. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit, Jennifer, about your background and how you came to connect with your co-host to write this home study system, which is it's really fascinating. It's interesting to me.
Well, thanks. I am a licensed psychotherapist in Texas, where I live, and also a national certified counselor. And I had been in practice for about 4 years, where I had this booming practice and things were going really well, until I unexpectedly became pregnant with twins. And what happened is I had to make a real shift in my life, and it really became a natural transition for me after I had my twins to really package things up differently. I actually realized that I had become one of these dissatisfied people in my own therapy practice, because as I was sitting and talking with people on the couch, I realized that there were some very uncommitted people that were willing to just spend money week after week to see me, and I realized that I was becoming dissatisfied in working with this type of clientele. So I really had a need to shift my services in creating a different package for what I have to offer for people who came to see me. And that's where my coaching came about, where now I'm able to only work with that 10% of people that really are so focused on their personal development and their business development, and really see a link between the two. So that's how it became about for me.
Well, you've got so many pieces there that are interesting to me, and it's sad that I only have a little bit of your time to talk about them. But you know what's fascinating about what you just described is how willing people who are, for whatever reason, unhappy, how willing they are to spend a lot of money to talk about how unhappy they are.
Well, you're exactly right, Donna Maria, and this is actually, in step one, which I know that we'll talk about. But what occurred to me is that people really were interested in telling me how bad they felt over and over and over and over again. And the first few times, I want to hear how bad it is, and I want to help any way that I can. But as I start working with a client, it really becomes apparent to me who the people are who are just really motivated to change. And what I saw happen as I, wrote this material with my co-author, Diana Gintu, is that we decided that for the 10% of people, research shows that out of 100 people, only 10% of those will really embrace change, that will really do the work that you give them, will really progress beyond just the complaining part of what's not going so well. And so the first thing that we really work with people on is, really dropping the label. And instead of saying, I don't have any power, I don't have any choices, I live in a world of lack, we really encourage people to just take responsibility. And when you're able to do that, especially in the first step of our program, then we see that, your whole world opens up. And from that choice and power and responsibility that you give yourself, you're able to really move into a whole new life, really, because you're taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, and really deciding that that's what you want for your life.
So, Jennifer, it's okay to complain for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, you have to, because you're a human being, I'm human, and you complain for a little bit, but when it starts to really run your life in a way that you become chronically dissatisfied or depressed, because really depression is just sadness kicked up a notch. When you become chronically anxious, which is really just a little bit of worry that we all have, anxiety is just worry kicked up a notch. So it is okay to feel those normal emotions. We just don't want them to get chronic, because then it ruins, your personal life, and it runs into your professional life too.
So Jennifer, is there anything that can help those 90% of people, or is it that's just what they're going to be? They're just keep complaining and not really get off the dime?
Well, this is what I tell most everybody that comes to see me, because I always get the question, and now know that I have transitioned from psychotherapist to coach out of my own need. But the clients are all the same, and most people will say, I just don't know if I could do your job. It just doesn't sound fun listening to complaining all day long. And I tell everybody, if I didn't see change, then I would have this incredibly desolate and horrible job I would hate, which I really don't even think of as a job. But, I would have this desolate job that would not be very fun for me. But the reason I love it so much is because I absolutely see change every time someone steps in my office. There's sort of an energy between the person that I'm with and between me. I know right off if they're not the right fit for my practice, but I think they also know as well, and they just tend to not come back. Quickly, if someone gets step number one, which is really just changing your mindset and knowing that you do have the power to change. It's all about taking responsibility for how you feel. I think that really is the key step that will help move people forward. So, I have hope for the 90%, I guess is what I'm saying.
We'll take your questions and comments. Do join us, 800-773-0355, or you can email your question to info@indiebusinessradio.com. Jennifer, we're going to get into those 7 steps, but I would like to relate for a little bit with you on the question of how a person who's working on their own can really take advantage of the book that I have in front of me. It's a wonderful resource. I've listened to some of the discs in the audio disc CDs in the back, and each chapter is divided. It's real easy to read and follow and fill out my own personal journey, and that's wonderful. But how difficult is it for people who are already chronically dissatisfied or depressed to do something like this on their own?
That's a really good question, and it does vary from person to person. And there is one real distinguishing characteristic that I see between people who really excel at this material and the people who don't. And that is for the person who creates in their mind this decision to change. And even if you are chronically dissatisfied or have some of the other negative emotions that are going on, all it takes is a decision. So if you have the decision that one day you wake up and say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to live this stressed out life, this overwhelmed, unbalanced life that I have. I don't want to live like this anymore. And, you can go to Barnes & Noble or Amazon and get just a huge resource of books. And most people have a ton of books, self-help books, on their shelf. But the one thing that's really going to make the difference between making a change or not making a change is the decision to do so. And so for the person who says, okay, I'm doing it, I'm going to follow the steps, whether it's with my material or somebody else's, finding something that resonates with you, and then making the shift within your brain. And it really is a shift that says, no more. I'm not living like this anymore. I don't want to do it. Come hell or high water, my life is going to change. So if that is the case, I think it's a lot easier than you might think.
And Jennifer, in your experience, is there a connection between the dissatisfaction, the kind of depression that you see on a consistent basis? Is there a connection between that and the worker economy today, how people work, where people work, traditional corporate lifestyles?
Goodness, there really is, and as a former corporate employee, I can attest to how stressful that environment is for most people. However, in my former life, I was a career counselor and I was a corporate trainer, and so I had a little bit different view, I think, of the corporate world. And one of the main things that I see as a difference is you either remain externally focused in your life or you remain internally focused. And that doesn't mean if you're internally focused that you just live in la-la land. It means that you are consistently taking care of business, which means you are consistently taking care of what is a priority for you. And just like Tiffany said a little bit earlier, that her priority is being home with her child, and that's my priority too. For some, that may not be their priority, but even in a corporate world, if you remain externally focused, which is to say that you are pleasing others a majority of time rather than really taking stock of yourself and really encouraging your own personal development and personal awareness, then there is a lot of dissatisfaction. And I think, unfortunately, most of the time people do remain so externally focused that they are chronically dissatisfied.
Because the focus on things that you can't control or things that are external to yourself is just making your life futile. Is that
exactly? Exactly. And it's not that you can't ever have some attention on those areas. Of course you have to. I mean, this is just the world that we live in. But you have to make a distinct shift and really know in your mind and in your heart that, my priority is me right now, and my priority is my family, and my priority is, what is most important for you, which really comes from an internal source. The source internally says, that little voice that says you know where you need to go, you know what you need to be doing. And that's where we get sort of unbalanced in our lives when we don't listen to that little voice. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times people will even say, well, I don't have the time to focus on myself. Well, you will have the time when you're completely stressed out, maxed out, overwhelmed. Then will you have the time to really focus on yourself? Because at that point, and I know Tiffany can even talk about this some too, but that's where the illnesses really set in, because your body will really start to react to the way you're treating yourself emotionally, internally versus externally.
Yes, and Tiffany, you can feel free to comment on that if you have some experience or questions in that regard too. It's neat to be here with other moms who, in my experience as a woman, and then of course as a mother, I do come in contact with a lot of women who are also mothers, and there is a lot that we take on that's external to ourselves that we complain about.
Definitely. I do my share of complaining. If you don't really decide what's important to you and really just let the rest fall by the wayside, it's so easy to become overwhelmed. It really is.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer, I want to walk through your 7 steps really briefly. I know we can't, of course, cover them in detail, but I want to touch upon them enough to let any listeners get an idea about the steps that they would take and really help them to see that, home study and self-study really is a good way to go when you're trying to sort of, for lack of a better word, kind of get yourself out of a rut.
Absolutely.
And of course we're, depression is a real thing, and, you need to go to the doctor if you've been diagnosed or you really think that you may need medical attention. And obviously I don't want to give anybody the idea that they, can disregard that, but certainly a book like this can be helpful. So let's start, Jennifer, with your step number 1, which is creating a disciplined mindset. Now, there's that word discipline, which to me would seem to scare me terribly if I was, chronically anxious.
Well, absolutely, and that word is deliberate. We put the word disciplined in there deliberately because what we really want people to do is we want them to see that there is a difference between being scarce and being abundant. An abundant mindset says that you have choices and you take responsibility for your life. Mm-hmm. You have more power in who you are. So that is really the first step that we want everybody to do is instead of thinking of what you don't have in your life and lack, think of what you do have and take responsibility for what isn't going right and what is going right in your life. This is a continuous process. So we absolutely want everyone to think abundantly as much as possible. Then it becomes a habit. So creating a disciplined mindset, which really means being repetitious in thinking abundantly on a continuous basis.
And we're going to go to our second break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking with Jennifer Ryan, the co-author of the Naked Truth Home Study System, and we're going to ask her to tell us about her T process, TEA, the T process. This is Indie Business Radio. We'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning their new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. We're here with Jennifer Ryan, co-author of the Naked Truth Home Study System. And before we took our first break, we were talking about Jennifer's first step, which is creating a disciplined mindset. And Jennifer, I wanted to ask you if what you said before the break kind of boils down to having a positive mindset, of thinking of the positive, focusing on the positive.
You know, it does, Donna Maria, but it also takes one other thing. Focus on the positive, but also lose the label. Lose the label. So if you, for example, are a depressed person or you are chronically dissatisfied, stop wearing it as a badge of honor. If you label a person as chronically dissatisfied, then you've just created someone as dissatisfied. So don't be that anymore. Just make the decision that you're not that. So it does, but it's also losing the label as well.
Wow. And so you've got something called the T process, TEA. Tell us about that.
The T process stands for thoughts, emotions, and actions. And in a split second, you have a thought which creates your emotion, which creates your action. And I take everybody through this process because no matter what you're going through, in a split second, you think a thought, it creates an emotion, which may be this negative emotion, which then creates an action. And most of us think that outside forces actually make us do certain things or make us feel certain things, which that is just not the case at all. What makes us feel a certain way, worried or dissatisfied or guilty or sad or angry, is what we're thinking about the situation. Our thought is merely our perception, our opinion, or our judgment of any and every situation that happens to us. So in a split second, what runs through our head immediately creates an emotion within our bodies, which then causes us to act out based on that emotion. So if for anybody who's wanting to change what they feel, the real key is then to change what you think, because your thought is what creates that emotion.
Jennifer, it's interesting what you're saying. I see this in my children who, I'm teaching them to not just look at their behavior, but to look behind their behavior and see what is in their heart and in their mind that caused that behavior. And so what you're saying, I hope what you're saying is that's very good, Donna Maria, that you let them know that their action is based on something that's already inside them, and if you examine that, then you can change your action. Is that a decent...
That is absolutely true. So good job, Donna Maria. That is
well,
a good job.
It's so fascinating because we're grown women and we have children and we're married and we've had careers and all that sort of stuff. But my kids are 4 and 6 years old, and so what you're saying is basically it's the human drama. It doesn't matter how old you are. This is pretty much how it works.
Well, it is, and then we really talk about how you get those thoughts. And at 4, the thoughts are pretty ingrained. It comes from other people. That moves into step 2, which is partnering with your subconscious, where you really try to find out, okay, why do I even have these perceptions and these thoughts and these opinions and these judgments? Because I may encounter the same situation as my friend does, but I feel differently about it. Why is that? The real reason is because of the way I was raised and the way I was taught to feel a certain emotion. So where my daughters may get angry about something because I won't let them watch Elmo or, have a certain food that I don't think is good for them, they'll get angry. So rather than me, getting angry because they're angry, I just let them be angry. In other words, I'm just observing their anger, because what will happen is when they get older, they know how to be angry now. They know that it's okay and they can soothe themselves and be fine in the end.
And I would imagine in your practice, maybe not personally in your practice, but certainly in your profession, you see so many people, and particularly young people today, who don't know how to handle their anger.
Well, no, they really don't, and it's because we don't want children to be angry because it makes us uncomfortable. We don't want our children to be dissatisfied because it makes us uncomfortable. And that's really where we're imparting our own perceptions and our own beliefs and judgments onto our kids. And it really is okay to be angry. Yeah. In other words, how are they going to learn to express that emotion if we don't let them work through it themselves? If they don't learn how to be angry, they're going to be enraged when they get older. And if they don't know how to just be a little bit dissatisfied, they're going to be really ticked off when they're older. So it's really just a process that we take them through.
Well, this is powerful stuff. So step 3 is know the rule of focus. Tell us about that.
Well, this really is what you give your attention to is ultimately what will be your worldview. There's so much in the news about kids, especially since we're kind of talking about kids, but just bad things that are happening, and I choose not to focus on them. It doesn't mean I don't know they're there. It doesn't mean I don't read the paper or read the Internet on what's going on. It's just that I choose not to focus on that negativity because I'll have more of that in my world. I'll see more of it. And the other thing is if I focus on how angry I am, I can go to lunch with about 5 other friends that are going to gossip, be just as angry, just as dissatisfied as I am. And who wants that in their world? Remember, we're trying to change this. So I want to focus on what I don't have at the present moment, which is someone who is satisfied in their life and who has balance. So
Jennifer, when you work with women in particular who are small business owners, do you find that there are some parallels in the steps that you suggest that people follow for their personal satisfaction and the steps that you would suggest that they follow in terms of business success? And this one sort of jumps out at me as knowing what you're focusing on and getting out of your business what it is that you're focused on.
Absolutely. I was in a networking meeting not long ago, and this very big, burly man walked up to me and looked down at me, and I'm fairly tall, and said, I hired a personal coach, and it was the best thing I ever did for my business. And I thought, wow, I really want to put you in my briefcase and take you with me because you're a great marketing tool. The reality is when I hear that business life and personal life is not connected, I cringe because they are. And ask any mom, ask any person who works for themselves, and you'll know there's a huge balance issue. If you create a personal awareness that is internally based versus externally based, you will absolutely see a thriving professional practice. And I know that because I see that with all of the clients I work with, but I live that on a daily basis. I am the person who's a small business owner who has to constantly look internally so that I can shift my focus when my day is done to playing on the floor with my kids.
Right.
But my business can thrive because I'm able to put that attention personally as well as professionally. I've got enough to do that.
And step 4 is know your secretive why.
Now, this is a really big one, and you won't give me enough time for this one, but this is really the core of our program. It is your secretive why, which, I may just kind of leave this one a little bit elusive for you, but this is the step that we really take you to that says, okay, what is it that always brings me back to being dissatisfied? Like, Jennifer, I've followed all your steps. I've done this, but here it comes up again, and it's staring me in the face. Why is it here? This is really the reason that we've identified in everybody, and you can rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 what your secretive why is, and it's that one thing that just eats at you, and we make sure to change that. Did that give you enough information, or do I need to give more?
No, that's good. I think it's a good overview of what people can expect, and it's really good that it's the meat of it because it's right there in the middle at step number 4. Step number 5 is releasing the past and moving into the present.
Whatever happened in the past, wherever you've been, whatever your story, it's just not part of you anymore. It doesn't have to be you. So again, when I said lose the label up at the disciplined mindset, this is really where you lose it for good. So at this step in the process, this is where you're just done. You already made the decision. So whatever's happened in the past does not have to be you today. It really is okay to evolve and become something that you weren't even yesterday, a year ago, or 5 years ago.
So you let go of the past without forgetting that it ever happened. Is that essentially what you do?
Absolutely. Most of us hang on to some stories that keep us so dissatisfied and keep us so in a state of negative emotion, and it's because of this thing or that thing or the other thing. And whatever those things are, you're done with them. They happened in the past. They're not part of the present moment. They're not part of your future. You are shaped because of what happened in the past, but it doesn't have to be shaped in a negative way. Here's a very quick example. I heard someone at a seminar stand up and say one time, well, I'm the adult child of an alcoholic. And I thought, well, why are you that? Why did you choose to be that? Why don't you choose to be the adult child of a father who worked really hard and who loved you a lot, but maybe didn't do his best? It's like just shift your focus. You don't have to be that label. You can be whoever you want to be. You're really reinventing yourself because now you have a new opportunity to do that. You've got to let go of the past and what's back there.
I love what you just said because probably the reason or one of the reasons why she said it that way is because that's what the media calls her.
Exactly. And I don't buy into that.
Excuses to behave in a certain way, too. Very
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, step 5, thriving in the divine flow. Ooh, that sounds spiritual.
This is my favorite step because up to this point, this is our 6th of 7 steps. And of this step, this is really where you are just going with the flow of life. Now, the flow is really what can be said that if you ever work out or if you're just watching TV or if you are doing anything that you just really enjoy and you're just really in the moment, that's sort of being in the zone where you just get taken away and you are just going with the flow of life. The reality is life's going to happen just the way it's going to happen, whether you're present or whether you're not present. And if you are to live in the flow, and not just live, but thrive in the flow, that really means you're just going with it. Whatever comes your way, you're just sort of going with it and taking it as it comes. You're not letting it affect you in a negative way, unless you want it to affect you negatively, and some people do, but you're not letting it change you in a negative way. It is what it is. You choose to see it differently. But this is sort of like going downstream and you're, just doing really well, just going with the flow. That's what this means.
And by divine flow, is that something that can anyone, regardless of what their spiritual background or beliefs are, they can follow this section?
Absolutely, and this word may throw some people off. For me, it means listening to your internal source. It's your internal guidance system. And whatever that is for you, whatever you follow divinely, spiritually, this is what that means. Just going with the divine flow, and whatever feels the most right for you is always, always, always going to be the best answer. It's living by your internal guidance system.
And step 7, take back your life.
Mm-hmm. This is our biggest section, and that's because by this point in the process, we want you to take back your life. Your life is yours. You choose to live it absolutely the way you want to live it. This is where we tie all 6 steps together into one big 7th step with a big bow on top. This is where we want you to just consistently have an attitude of gratitude. We want you to create a well-rounded life, and we'll show you how to do that, meaning don't put all your eggs in one basket, which is to say work, or don't put all your eggs in the friend basket. Don't put all your eggs in the I'm a parent basket, because those are just roles. And one of those roles don't work out, it's really going to damage you if you have 90% of your eggs in that basket. So we just show you how to tie it all together and then really create a space in your life for allowing whatever you've created for yourself and whatever is supposed to happen in your life to happen naturally.
Jennifer, I am so impressed. This is very, very nicely done. And as I'm looking through here again, and I did spend some time since I got the materials doing that, but hearing you talk about it, it really shows me, I'm sitting here with the materials right in front of me, that these materials can be used over and over again in your life as you experience different kinds of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you get it, you can make a copy of it and then go back over it and do it for this issue and then do it again for this issue, I guess you can combine the issues. But I'm saying that because it's almost like it's a global package that addresses everything that might be holding you back, and that may be more than one thing.
Absolutely, which is why we've had such a hard time with the title of this. The title actually changed at one point of this material because it is all-encompassing, and I agree with you. The other thing is to note that the steps need to be worked over and over. So for someone who gets this and says, well, I went through it, and I'm still a little bit dissatisfied, well, come on, work it really intensely and give it its due, and then work it again, and then work it again. I use the 7 steps every single day in my life, and I want others to do that as well.
There's a lot of immediate gratification out there today.
There is. You're right.
Now, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about how we can get in touch with you. Where's your website, and where we can come and hear you and Diana speak?
Okay, well, iChooseChange.com is our company website. Again, iChooseChange.com. If you're specifically interested in this material, you can go, and actually I've got a special promotion going on now that I'll give to your listeners, and that is iChooseChange.com/change-now. Change Now. So for anybody just wanting more information on this home study system, you can go there and get that information. Mm-hmm. What is tied into this material? We offer unlimited email support. So when you get stuck and say, I just don't know how to work through this step 3, well, let us help you through that. That's what we're here for. The other thing is joining what we call the Naked Truth Alliance. And again, the Naked Truth is your core self. This is living your authentic self, really at the naked truth of who you are. The Naked Truth Alliance is a supportive accountability group, and you can get more information about that at nakedtruthalliance.com and sign up for that support and accountability group.
Oh, okay, great. So does that come with the Work Home Study course when you purchase it?
It does, yeah. When
Great.
you go to, Change Now, the website that I gave you, you get the complete home study. As you're looking through there, Donna Maria, you'll know that there are tons of exercises, there are journal entries, and there are audio CDs for every single step that we have.
It's wonderful. It sure is. And what a great idea to have not only email coaching, but also alliances where people can talk with you as well as other people who are using the Naked Truth Home Study System. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jennifer Ryan, co-author of the Naked Truth Home Study System at iChooseChange.com. We're going to wrap things up today. I'm so grateful to my indie co-host, Tiffany McCauley of PersonalAlchemy.com. Congratulations again on that new website, Tiffany. And special thanks, of course, to you, my listeners, for allowing me to spend this time with you today. Remember that you can stream or download all of my radio shows at indiebusinessradio.com. I also invite you to join the discussion at indiebusinessblog.com. Next week on the show, Susan Wilson-Solovic, host of Small Business TV and the author of The Girl's Guide to Building a $1 Million Business, will be here with me on Indie Business Radio. Until then, enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.